Hey guys, Dr. Tracy here, and I'm going to tell you what you should be working on this week. We have gotten through all of the writing programs section. Now we are working on the final sections, which I've entitled Python Games, because each one of these chapters is going to be specific games that will be included as part of your Project 3. This week, the chapter is Chapter 10, Tic Tac Toe. The idea of Tic Tac Toe is that it shows a basis of artificial intelligence because the computer has to decide where to put the X's and O's to be strategic. The chapter doesn't give any new syntax or any new things to learn in Python necessarily, but rather lets you kind of think about how a game can think for itself. The game you create is going to have 9 vectors, 9 sections, just like a normal tic-tac-toe game. And it'll have the code that'll let the player make the decision on where to put their piece, and then the computer will make the decision on where to put the piece. The sample run of the tic-tac-toe game will look like is listed here in the textbook. Welcome to tic-tac-toe, it will print out. Do you want to be X or O? And then you make a choice. It then determines if the computer is going to go first or not, and will put if the computer goes first, otherwise it will ask the user for what they are entering. Then you enter a number, which is based on this representation of a grid, and that's where you put your space. But in order to make this interesting, because if a computer just picked a random spot, it'd be really easy to win tic-tac-toe because there are certain things that you can do. So instead, you want to build in an estimation of artificial intelligence to have the computer build a game that can anticipate what moves they should do. You do this by establishing rules. And by establishing those rules, you can tell the computer what decisions it should make based on conditions that already exist. Now, there's a whole lot of code here, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But when you go through designing the program, you have some strategy. You know yourself that when you play tic-tac-toe, that you look to see if you could make a winning move first. If you have 2 X's on the board and 1 more X will make 3 in a row, that's the one you're going to do. If you can't do that, then the next thing that you would do is see if the opponent has a winning move. There's 2 O's on the board and then they're ready to win. If you don't block that, then that's what you're going to do. Then maybe after that, what you do is go to a corner, go to a center, or go to a side. These are the rules that you would establish for yourself when you were playing the game of tic-tac-toe. So to teach a computer to be smart and think for itself, you just set up these rules for it. The same rules that we could establish will be set up for the computer to make those decisions using conditions. And the conditions will make decisions on what will go next based on what already exists. So let's go down to where it shows what the computer is doing. When you choose a move from a list of moves, then you're going to go according to the rules of the possible moves, where the computer's AI starts here on Get Computer Move. Given a board and the computer's letter, determine where to move and return that move. So it'll start off in saying, if it's X, then X, otherwise O. It's basically that first part. And if they can win in 1 move, this is the algorithm. For I in range 1 through 10, that means for each one of those, you have a board. And if there is a space free, make a move. If it is winner, then return that space. So basically what's happening here is it's saying, if I find a space and if I put my X in a space, will that make me a winner? If that's true, then give me that number. Then it checks to see if the player can win in 1 move. Again, it's going to test the alternate one this time. It's going to say, if I put an O there, is the winner going to be for the other player? And if that's so, then give me that number and I'll put an X there. And then it uses artificial intelligence to try and check the corner, center, and side spaces, and to see if they're free to see where to put it. Then there's the thing to show whether the board is full. So you are given all of the code in Python to create this tic-tac-toe where it will play it for itself using the lists and reprinting the board with these various functions that make those decisions. But I want you to think about artificial intelligence itself. For example, I list on your discussion this week 2 articles that I want you to read. The first one is a very short article about understanding the role of AI in gaming. And the second one is artificial intelligence in video games and gives a lot more detail about the basic decision trees. Even in the simple Tic Tac Toe game, there's a basic decision tree. That choices to make. Will I win? Then put it there. If not, will they win? Then put it there. If not, then should I put it in the corner? Should I put it in the center? Etc. So when you look at that, a behavioral decision tree is just a basic list of rules that you make decisions about. So when you make a decision and it opens up other things that could be done. Very complex games have built-in artificial intelligence that are as simple as the tic-tac-toe artificial intelligence, but just with a whole lot more decisions and a whole lot more rules. So when you build artificial intelligence, you build each of the decisions and what the possible consequences are for each of the decisions made. On the decisions that should happen. Is this a win condition? No. Should I go here if this happens? And so then that way a computer will start to make the decisions based on the rules that are set up for it to follow. All right, well, this week, you know, of course, they work on the tic-tac-toe, but in addition, you've got part 2 and part 3 of this discussion because there's a lot involved. In part 1, it's the reading. In part 2, you're finding all the Python code that creates the artificial intelligence. And then in part 3, you're going to think of how artificial intelligence is used in a game that you're familiar with and create a basic decision tree. Post your response to all of this will demonstrate how much you've learned about artificial intelligence and then reply to at least 3 others. Hope that helps, and I hope you like going through this chapter. I'll talk to you soon.